Today's daf is Kesubos daf Tzadidal, Kesubos 94. We're going to start on 93b at the Mishnah. Misha and Nasoi Tal and Nasher, and somebody was married to 4 women. Umeis, and then this person died. Harishona Kudemes Lashmiya. The first one collects the estate first. She gets the first choice of a field. The second one comes before the third one. The third one comes before the fourth one. Varishona Nishbas Lashmiya. The first one has to take an oath to the second one. The second one has to take an oath to the third one. And the third one has to take an oath to the fourth one. The fourth one, she collects her payment without an oath because who's she left to swear to? Whereas Benana says, because she's the last one, she should benefit. That doesn't make sense. She also only collects her payment unless she first takes an oath. And Rashi tells us right away, the Gemara is going to explain the dispute, what they're arguing about. Let's say all of them, meaning to say that all of the Kesubos were written on the same day, so they all have the equivalent lien. So under those circumstances, called whoever's Kesuba was first, even by 1 hour, 1 moment, they're the ones who come first. They're the ones who get they collect first. But that's how they would write in Jerusalem shows. They would even write hours. Let's say everybody wrote the exact same moment, the exact same time, and there's only a mana in the Kesuba, there's not enough to pay everyone. Then we say they divide it up equally. So it says the Gemara, what's the dispute between Benanas and the Rabbanan? Why does Benanas say the fourth one has to take an oath? Who's she taking an oath to? Amar Shmuel says we're talking about a case that one of the first 3 women, probably, let's say woman number 3, she knows that the field she got was stolen. It was a stolen field by her husband. And so therefore she knows that it's a very good chance and somebody will come to claim the field. We're talking about a case where there's a later creditor, and this later creditor, where a later creditor has come and sees something prior to the earlier creditor. So in Tanakama, the Rabbanan, there are the positions that say Mashagava Ogava. Well, if a later creditor sees it before the earlier creditor, then it's irrelevant. What he sees is not valid. Mashagava Ogava. Banana Savar, whereas the Bananas is of the position. Mashagava Agava. Bananas of the position. If the later creditor comes along and takes it, once he takes it, it's his. And so therefore she wants him, the fourth woman, the fourth wife has to take an oath that under these circumstances he has to take an oath that he's not taking anything that's not his, because once he takes it, we're going to say even though he's a later creditor, it's going to belong to him, and she's not going to be able to get anything back from him. Whereas Rav Nachman says in the name of Rabbi Baravua, the Kuliyama Mashagava Lo Gava. Rav Nachman says in the name of Rabbi Baravua, no. Everybody says that which everybody's of the position that which Rabbi Nachman says in the name of Rabbi Baravua, everybody's of the position that if the later creditor comes along and seizes it before the earlier creditor, everybody's going to say it's not going to be considered seized. But here we're concerned that maybe the third wife is concerned that maybe the fourth wife is going to ruin the property. So even though she's going to end up seizing it, in the meantime, the fourth one will ruin it, especially since she thinks it might get lost in the end. So therefore, she has to take an oath before she gets it that what she's taking, she really has a right to. Whereas Bananas is not concerned about that. Abaye says Abaye says, no, what they're arguing about is actually the dispute has to do with the teaching of Abaye Kashisha. And the basis for this is that Abaye Kashisha taught, the Tani Abaye Kashisha, Yisomim Sha'amru, where that which we taught, that if somebody wants to make a claim, take some money from heirs, they have to take an oath. Does this talk about, and this is what's going on here, Rashi says that the person who the fourth one would have to take the oath to is not to the other widows, but to the heirs. So Benana says they have to take an oath. The woman has to take an oath before she takes it from the heirs, whereas Rabbah says whereas the Chachamim say they don't. So Abaye Kashisha says that when you have to take an oath, that means even if they're adult heirs, and that's what Benana says. For sure if they're minor heirs, whereas the Rabbanan are in the position that it's only if they're minor heirs you have to take an oath. So the Tana Kama is like the Abaye Kashisha. He doesn't agree with the Abaye Kashisha. Benanas is like the Abaye Kashisha, whereas Benanas does agree with the Abaye Kashisha. So those are the three approaches to our Mishnah. Amar Rav Huna. So now we're going to go get into a series of cases. It says Rav Huna, Hani Trei Achi, Utrei Shutfi, the Islu Dina Ba'adei Chad. So there were two brothers and two partners that they had a bezdin, they had a court case with they're either two brothers or two partners who had a din Torah with one other person. So what happened was and one of them went one of them went to the court, and he took one of the partners went and he took somebody to the court. He took somebody to the court. So under those circumstances, and then and Rashi says, then he was found liable. Well, now the other partner can't say, the other partner can't say, well, I also want to take him to court. The first guy was not me. He can't say that. Rather, we say the first partner went as his actually agent. And since they were partners, that when he took him to court, it was as though both of them took them to court. So he says, basically, you went as my agent. So Ikra, even though he wasn't appointed, Ikra Rav Nachman Surah. So Rav Nachman came to Surah. Shailui ki haigadnas. They asked Rav Nachman basically this exact question. And they said to him, what's the law? Amarlu Masnisan. He said, this is our Mishnah. He points to our Mishnah because what does our Mishnah say? Arishona Nishbase, Wishnia. The first one takes an oath to the second one. Wishnia Lishlishis. The second one takes an oath to the third one. Lishlishis Revius, the third one to the fourth one. But why doesn't the Gemara say, why doesn't the Mishnah say Rishona Lishlishis? Lokatani, it doesn't say the first one takes an oath to the third one. My time, what's the reason why we don't say that? Isn't it because the Shlichusa Avda, that basically the third one it's as though they've appointed the second one as their agent. So why don't we say the third one basically appointing the second one as their agent? And so therefore, that's why it doesn't say that he has to take an oath to all of them. So isn't that the exact same case here where you have the two partners? Now we look at all these women as partners, and therefore it's like they went to the court and one of them is taking the oath on behalf of the other one. And the Gemara says, no. Midami, the cases are not similar. There, if you take an oath to one, or if you take an oath to 100 people, there's no difference. Once you have to take an oath, what does it matter? So therefore, if you take an oath to the second woman, it doesn't matter if you take it if you're taking the oath to the third woman. You took the oath already that she took the oath that she wasn't taking any extra property. But Hacha Amar, here in our case, the partner could say, if I was there, I would have made a stronger case. And so therefore I should be able to bring my case to the court. And when did Rav Nachman, and when do we say that the first one could have the ability to go to, the other partner can take him to the court? When he wasn't in the city. But if he was in the same city when the court case happened, he should have known and gone to the court. So now we have the next case in let's say you have two two contracts that both go out on the same day. You have two contracts that basically the guy sold the property to one field to two different people on the exact same day. It's the exact same day on the two contracts. Rav Amar, what do you do under these circumstances? Rav says, you divide it. You can't figure out who gets the field. They both have competing evidence, competing support. So Rav says you divide the field between the two, so to speak, split the baby. Shmuel Amar Shuda the diner. Shmuel says, no, the judges can decide. Shuda, meaning to say, according to what the court says, they decide who gets the whole field. So Gemara says, let's say that Rav, let's say that Rav follows the position of Rabbi Meir. This relates to a dispute in Mesechas Gitin, in Tractate Gitin, with which we say, do we say that the witness is, what's the main part of what you need in order to establish a get? Do we follow the signature, or do we follow the handing over of the contract to the other party? Do we say if they both sign on the same day, and you have both people signing on the same day without any time slot, do we say therefore it's clear that they're not that they weren't particular or who came first, and so therefore nobody really has a priority to it, and so therefore the court can decide who gets it? Or do we say no, it follows who was handed over at first, and since one was handed over the document first, then we're going to say that that's the person who got it. So the Gemara says, Lema Rav, maybe Rav who says that it follows Eidei Chasima, Rav holds like Rabbi Meir says we follow Eidei Chasima, and therefore since it wasn't clear who signed it first, since it wasn't clear it was all the same day, therefore nobody gets the field and you split it. Because the Amar Eidei Chasima Karsi, because nobody has a stronger claim. Shmuel, we're in the top of Tzadi Dal on the base, Shmuel says to Rabbi Eliezer, who says Eidei Mesirei Karsi, that it goes by the witnesses to the handing over, meaning to say, even though there were no witnesses on it, but they gave it in front of 8 witnesses, then you could collect it from property that there was a lien on it. Because Rabbi Eliezer is of the position that the only reason why witnesses signed the document is on account of tikkun olam, that maybe they're going to die, that maybe the witness who saw the handing over are going to die, or they're going to go overseas. So the main aspect of it is the handing over of the document. And so here we could say that maybe he wanted one of them to have it more than the other one, and he gave it to him, and the second one was a mistake. And so therefore, and if we don't know which one he intended to give it to, we'll say Shuda the Daina, because he definitely intended to give it to one more than the other. So that's what Shmuel. So the Gemara wants to suggest that maybe that's what Shmuel's saying. The Gemara says no. Everybody says that we give priority to the witnesses who witnessed the handing over of the document. Here, what's the dispute? Rav Savar Chaluka Adifa. Rav says, I always prefer to say that we should divide something, because in the case where we're not sure, it's better off to divide it. That's a better principle. When you divide the field, each one will get half, and it's possible if we're not really sure, then we give completely to the wrong person. And Shmuel Savar Shuda the Daina Adifa. Shmuel says, no, it's better off to give it completely to one person, because at least you have the possibility of being right. So Gemara says, so you mean to say that everybody says Eidei Mesirei Karti, that the real witnesses are the witnesses to the handing over of the document? So Gemara says, does Rav really hold like Rabbi Elazar that Eidei Mesirei Karti? But didn't Rabbi Yehuda say in the name of Rav that the law is like Rabbi Elazar only with respect to Gittin? And came Risa the Kamei de Shmuel, said in front of Shmuel, he said, Av Kashtaros, he says, no, even by contracts in general. So we see from here, that, hold on one second. So from the fact that he says it with respect to Gittin, we see from here the Rav Sarver B'Shtaroslo that by a general contract, Rav does not hold like Rabbi Elazar that it's Edei Mesira. So the Gemara says El Nachavarta Rav Rabbi Meir. So it must be that really Rav holds like Rabbi Meir that Edei Chasime Karti, that we follow the witnesses of the signature. With Shmuel, who says Shuda Dedaina, he holds like Rabbi Elazar, and so Rav says Yachoku like Rabbi Meir, and Shmuel says Shuda Dedaina like Rabbi Elazar, who says Edei Mesira Karti. So Meisvei, so the Gemara challenges Shmuel. Again, Shmuel says Shuda Dedaina if there are two contracts that go out on the same day, or in the middle of 94b. So what is Meisvei? Shnei shtaros hayotzim b'yom echad. Cholken, it says the two contracts that go out on the same day, we divide it. This is exactly like Rav. Tiyuf to Shmuel. And then there's a refutation of Shmuel, and then there's a contradiction to Shmuel. So Amrocha Shmuel would say, no. Shmuel would say it's not a contradiction to me. Because why isn't this a contradiction? Hamani Rabbi Meir he. That Brisa follows Rabbi Meir, who says Eidei Mesira, Eidei Chasima Karti. And that's like Rav, but I follow Rabbi Elazar. I follow like Rabbi Elazar. It's no problem. Gemara says, Rabbi Meir. If you want to say that Brisa is like Rabbi Meir, who says Yachoku, because it's Eidei Mesira Karti, because it's Eidei Chasima Karti, Ema Seifa, but the next clause states, let's say you wrote the contract to one person, they gave it over to another one. Kana, the one that he handed it over to, acquired it. Be Rabbi Meir, my Kana. Why did he acquire it? Rabbi Meir says that it's Eidei Mesira, so it must be clearly that it's not like Rabbi Meir. So the Gemara says, Tanahi. Okay, actually, you know what the Gemara says? Let's go back and say that there's this dispute between Rav and Shmuel, whether we say Yachoku or Shuda Dedaina, that's actually a Machukas Tanayim, because we learned in the Brisa, Chachamim Omrim Yachoku, Chachamim say you divide it up, whereas one opinion is you divide it, whereas in Bavel they said that whatever the court wants to do, they should do. So now we have the case, the Ime de Rami Bar Chama. So the mother of Rami Bar Chama, Kasvinu and Iska or Rami Bar Chama B'Tzafra. So she wrote a contract giving away her assets to Rami Bar Chama in the morning. Orta Kasvinu Marukva Bar Chama. In the afternoon, she gave it away to the other son, to Marukva Bar Chama. Also, Rami Bar Chama came to Rav Sheshes. And so Rami Bar Chama came to Rav Sheshes. So he gave it to him. Also, Marukva came to Rav Nachman. Marukva went to Rav Nachman. He gave it to him. So also Rav Sheshes came to Rav Nachman. So the two judges came together. Amrulay, my time I've been Marachis. Rav Sheshes said to Rav Nachman, why did you give it to Marukva? Amrulay, my time I've been Marachis. Rav Nachman said to Rav Sheshes, why did you give it to Rami Bar Chama? Amrulay, so Rav Sheshes says, I gave it to him. The Kaddim, because he came first. He had the lien before him. So he says, so Rav Nachman said, you think we're in Jerusalem, that they have a time and date on when the lien took place? They both went out on the same day. We don't know which one came first. So he says, Elamar, my time of it. So Rav Sheshes turns to Rav Nachman, why did you do this? He said, I'm like, Shuda Dedaina. So he says, because Rav Nachman says, I paskin like Shmuel. He says, Shuda Dedaini, that I get to choose which one I give it to. So Rav Sheshes says, well, I'm on Ananami Shuda Dedaini. He says, well, I also paskin that I could pick Shuda Dedaini, that I could choose which one. And therefore I chose Rami Bar Chama. So he says, so Rav Nachman responds to Rav Sheshes. Amar Echada, the Ana Dayana Umar Rav Dayana. He says, first of all, he said, I'm a judge, you're not a judge. Okay, that's the first thing. And second of all, and second of all, first of all, I'm a judge, you're not a judge. Second of all, this wasn't your opinion from the beginning, meaning to say that's not why you did. You didn't rule that way because it should do the Daina. You just thought that his contract was first, and that's why you ruled like Rami Bar Chama, but you made a fundamental mistake. And so therefore, since you made a fundamental mistake, I'm not going to accept your ruling. So then the Gemara gives, we'll do another one last incident. Hanu Treish Dari. So there were two contracts. They're also on one field. So again, another another story where there are two contracts on one field. The also come to Rav Yosef. Both of them came before Rav Yosef. One of the contracts was written that it says it was done on the 5th of Nisan. The other contract said it was sold on Nisan. Didn't say which one. He said, I'm going to give it to the person whose contract said 5 Nisan. So the person who has the second contract said, my contract also says Nisan. And why am I losing? It's as though maybe my contract was written before yours. So he says, so he said, why am I going to lose? So Rav Yosef said to him, you can't get it out from the second one whose contract was written on the 5th of Nisan because maybe you were written on the 29th of Nisan. And so therefore you can't collect him because he was on the 5th. So he says, well, at least let me write for me a contract that I could go and take it from those people who got it from after Nisan. Because then at least, I'll be able to get that. No, maybe they could say that your contract was written on the 1st of Nisan, and you've bought the field, and so therefore this is your field, and so therefore you have no ability to come and collect it. So you get it on both days. So the Gemara says, hey, so what could he do? He should ask a request. He should make a deal with the person who went on the day who his contract says the 5th day, and they should do our shah. They should do an agreement that allows him to thereby collect it from the creditors, so that he could at least from the people who purchase the land, so at least he could collect it from ER. So that's the answer that is the takana. That's how Rashi explains it. Okay, we'll stop here.